Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video that's been highly requested for a long time, a long overdue video on how to fix the R32 overhauled signs as well as the IRT New Tech Train signs for Trainz a New Era and Trainz 2019. This will work for both of them. And I'm going to make this video as quick and as simple as possible. The process might be a little tedious once you get into it, but I'll show you here the basic steps as fast as possible, and hopefully you're able to work through it. So first, what you want to do is open up, of course, the route textures that's giving you trouble. We'll start with the R32 first. So I will use the outside world textures just as an example. So here I am on Content Manager for Trainz. What you want to do is right click, open, and show and explore. Wait for it to load, open it up, and as you can see right here, you have your image files as well as your text documents. That's what Trainz will read when you load it in game. So if you notice here, the texture files are named identical to the image files, because I believe if it's not working, it's likely that the texture files aren't even there to begin with. So Trainz isn't able to read it and you get an error, or it doesn't show up when you try to load surveyor mode. So what you need to make sure is make sure every image file in this folder has an accompanying texture file and it's labeled properly. For example, A1 right here. You want to make sure A1 has an A1.texture, and on the inside you want to make sure primary is set to A01 and then the image file it's connected to. That's super important. Make sure it looks something like this. And then you repeat the same thing for A02. In the A02 texture, make sure it says A02. For L03, for example, if you want L03, make sure you have an L03 texture, L03, and so forth. Just repeat the same process for all of these. And when you finish creating all of these texture files, it may take a while to create all those texture files, but just repeat through everything. It should work. Once you're done with that, go into the config file and make sure here where you see textures and it drops down, make sure this says texture and not JPG. Otherwise, it won't work. So make sure you have everything set as .texture. You don't have to mess with down here with the extensions, but I would say make sure this number right here matches the author ID of whoever created it. So if it's, for example, my content 571451, make sure in the config file this is 571451, and so forth. So yeah. Let me give you a better example. So let's look at I'm looking for the R32 route textures. Let's just use this as an example from RRJJ178. Just as an example. So as you can see, this number right here, now it's saying 707006. But look at his KUID number, 707006. So that's why that's also correct. I'm just using this as an example. So I'm gonna revert unsubmitted edits. Okay. So now going back to the outside world R32 signs. Again, Make sure the number right here matches the author ID for whoever created the signs you're trying to fix. Make sure all of the text right here says .texture instead of .jpg. And make sure there's a notepad for each image file you have in this folder. And make sure the inside is labeled like this and connects with the image. And that's how you fix the R32 signs. I can 100% promise it'll work in game. I've tested it and it works. If you have any issues, just leave a comment and I'll try to help you out. This method will work for the new text signs for the IRT as well, but just for the sake of this video, I'll go through it again so you guys get an idea. Yes, so this is the R110A signs for the outside world. I'm just using this as an example. As you can see, look, 1LS, 1-LS texture. This is slightly different from the R32s, but the format is still the same. The texture file name matches the image file name, and in the inside, it refers to the JPG image right there. The format is exactly the same. This is just a different variation. I don't think capitalization matters, whether you have uppercase or lowercase s in this case, for example, but as long as it's the correct letter, correct number, and correct format, you will be fine. And here in the config file, as you can see, the textures are at the bottom instead of the top, but it still says .texture instead of .jpg. So you want to make sure that inside the config file, it's .jpg instead of .texture for all of these, for every single one. The names are fine. You can name these whatever you want, but for the textures, make sure they link to the notepads in the folder so Trainz can read it. And again, make sure this number right here is the author ID of whichever author designed this or worked on it. And yeah, that's how you fix the signs for the R32 and IRT New Tech Trainz for Trainz 2019 and Trainz A New Era. This will work on Trainz A New Era. I want you to know that. So either version you have, this method should work. Let me know if you run into any issues, and thank you for watching.